Good morning. It's Friday, December 2nd. We're heading into our very first December weekend and the second weekend of Advent. I want to continue this morning looking at some of the story of Advent, and today specifically focusing on Zechariah, who was the father of John the Baptist. John the Baptist was the one who was sent ahead of time to prepare the way so that when the Messiah, Jesus, came onto the scene, he was the one to announce his coming. And so, years earlier, Zechariah, who's a priest in the temple, and he draws the lot, which allows him to go into the Holy of Holies to minister to the Lord directly in that holy place. Now, that's a privilege that it can only happen once in your lifetime, and there's no guarantee that it will be in your lifetime. It just depends how the lot falls. But on this particular time, perhaps by God's guiding hand, the lot falls to Zechariah, and he enters the Holy of Holies to minister to the Lord. And we can find this story in Luke chapter 1, specifically verses 11 to verse 20. Although there's stuff ahead of it and stuff afterward as well. But that's the section I want to focus on today. Anyway, he goes into the Holy of Holies and he's ministering to the Lord, and all of a sudden an angel appears beside the altar and says to Zechariah, "Don't be afraid," because that's what angels always say. Why? Because people are usually terrified when angels show up. So the angel says, "Don't be afraid. I have this great news that your wife is going to be pregnant. She's going to have a son. You're going to name him John, and he's going to be the forebearer. He's going to be the one to announce and prepare the path for the Messiah who's coming directly after him." Now, here's Zechariah hearing this wonderful news and obviously awestruck. And the first thing he has to say is, how do I know what you're saying is true? When we're fearful, we often say things that logically don't make sense. For instance, if there was a huge angel that stepped in front of you and began to tell you things about what was going to happen, would your first response be, how do I know that what you're saying is going to be true? Or would your first response be, oh my goodness, I'm standing in the presence of an angel from God. I better listen to what he has to say. Well, obviously, because of his fright, he just, needed to have something to say. And Gabriel responds by saying, "Look, I'm Gabriel. I stand in the presence of the Lord at all times, and I am telling you this. And because you asked for a proof, I will do this. From now until the baby is born, you will no longer be able to speak." Maybe he should have just shut up right from the get-go. But anyway, the thing I love about this story is just the humanity of people like Zechariah doing the work of a pastor in the church, doing the work of ministering to the Lord and to the Lord's people, being given this very special opportunity to go into this very holy place and having this incredible encounter with God that changes his life. In fact, I wonder whether his being made dumb for those 9 months weren't a way to give him the opportunity just to be able to ponder. Because without being able to speak out and talk about what you're thinking or feeling, you had to internalize everything. And I'm wondering whether in those times of that quiet reflection that he didn't come to a much deeper realization of who God was and how much God loved him as his servant to give him this incredibly precious gift, not only of a child, but also a child who would be a messenger, someone to prepare the way for the Messiah. I'm not sure what you have had happen in your life, what aha moments with God you have had, but I'm sure as you think back to those, there will be moments where you reflect and say, yeah, I learned so much more because of that experience and because it caused me to take time to ponder. So in this season, take time to ponder and to consider what has God done and what can he yet do in your life and through your life and even through your family. God bless you. Praying for you today. Have a good weekend.